Okay. So I'll start with roll call here. For county staff, we have myself, Violet Plummer, Caroline Bean, Emmy Bristow, Nancy Rattel, Sarah Bell, Shane Stack, Vinnie Pavlish, and Commissioner Slotnick. And then we'll go to other folks we have joining the call. There's a number calling in at 4410. Is that Tom from West Valley?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Hi, Tom. We have Spencer Dodge, Emily Herndon, Lisa Fisher, Jeff Badenoch, John Fletcher, MCAT, Rick Hall, Tom Browder, and that was Tom Tucker calling in on the phone. And I will turn it over to you, Josh.
Thanks, Violet. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Great. All right. I'm attempting to bring up our agenda simultaneously. I'm having a little slow technology. Hang on just a second. All right. So I want to welcome everybody. We have a handful of guests today. Should be wonderful. The first person who's going to speak with us is Lisa Fisher, the project manager at HDR, and she's going to talk about the Mullen Road reconstruction. So Lisa, take it away.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. We'll see if technology works. Let me know if you guys can see that welcome slide.
We can see it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. As you mentioned, my name is Lisa Fisher. I'm with HDR, and we were hired by the Montana Department of Transportation to design the project, the Mullen Road project from Pulp Mill to Deschamps. So we wanted just to provide you guys with an overview of the project and kind of what to expect as we move forward. So again, this is the MDT Mullen Road project. We'll be starting at Pulp Mill Road, kind of on the northwest end, and moving towards Missoula, just past the Deschamps intersection. So here's a quick overview of the project. We've got a project map up here so you can kind of get your bearings straight. We'll begin that reconstruction just north of the Pulp Mill Road intersection, and then extend just past the Deschamps. And what the project will include is reconstruction of the road to include two 12-foot shoulders and two 12-foot lanes and 6-foot shoulders. And so out there today, we really have limited shoulder width. And so this is really going to help provide some additional pavement width to improve the safety. We'll also be replacing culverts throughout the project limits. And so anything that's under driveways, under the road, those things will be replaced with new culverts. We'll also be replacing the bridge that crosses the irrigation ditch that's just near that Primrose Drive intersection. And then kind of throughout the project limits, we'll be looking to straighten out the curves, flatten the hills where we can, to really improve that sight distance, the visibility of users on the road, and just improve safety throughout. The project will also include a shared use path, and that'll be for bicyclists and pedestrians. That's kind of a new addition to the project that has happened over the course of the last year. And so that will be incorporated as part of the project moving forward. We'll also be increasing the ditches along the road, and so that's really going to help provide some more storage for roadway drainage and snow during those winter months. And then lastly, we'll be replacing guardrail and upgrading pavement markings, signing, and fencing kind of throughout those project limits. So this is just a closer look at what that Mullen Road typical section or the makeup of the road would look like. So if we're looking at this typical section, it's kind of like we're traveling from Frenchtown to Missoula. So we've got those two 12-foot lanes, the 6-foot shoulders, and then that shared use path. And I would say the majority of the length of the project is 10 feet. But there are areas that were kind of constrained depending on where you're at and what you're up against, irrigation ditches and things like that. And then we also have a 5-foot to 28-foot buffer that's between the road and the shared use path, just to provide some separation and improve the safety for those users. Another feature for the project is the Deschamps intersection. So you can kind of see it here on the screen. When it intersects Mullen Road, it's at a pretty tight angle, and so it makes it hard if you're trying to access Mullen to try to find those oncoming traffic. And so the new intersection will kind of tee into it at a more perpendicular angle. And that really, again, is just to improve sight distance. If you're stopped at Deschamps and want to get onto Mullen Road, you'll be able to see those cars a little bit easier and a little bit quicker than you normally would. So overview of the project schedule real quick. We've completed that preliminary design. We got kind of through the 30% and hit the brakes a little bit, and that was really just to do some due diligence on the path along the roadway there. And so we picked that back up and got through 60% design at the end of last year. Looking forward, we're going to be doing some field work near the pulp mill intersection this spring, and that's going to lead us into that 90% design, which we're hoping to get wrapped up in the summer or fall of this year. And that would put us at the final design or the 100% design fall of next year. Construction has not been scheduled as of yet, but that's something that we continue to work with MDT on based on funding and different things that's happening in the district. And so that, I think, we'll just have continued, coordination and communication with everyone out there to let them know kind of what that construction timeframe could look like. And I will say, moving forward, we're going to do a lot more of these types of presentations. We'll start meeting with landowners this summer, and then we're also going to have an in-person public meeting, and we'll have members of MDT, HDR there, and we'll be there to help explain more of the details and help answer questions. And that'll probably be coming later this summer. We want to get through that field work near the Pulp Mill Road intersection, and then we'll be able to kind of fine tune some things and come back out and tell you guys what's really going on. And then if you want to keep in touch, we've got a project website. MDT is hosting that, and we'll provide updates every so often as new developments happen. I've got my contact information on there, as well as Spencer Dodge. He's joining me from our Helena office today. And jot that contact information down. I'd be happy to talk with any of you guys offline, or I'll be sticking around for any Q&As that you guys might have after this. And so I'd encourage you to check out the website. I've also thrown on just MDT's active project website. So if you're curious of other projects in the area, that's a great resource to take a look at. And that's all I got.
Thanks a lot, Lisa.
You bet.
So if anybody out there has any questions, raise your hand, and Violet, maybe you could do some moderating.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so please, folks, ask away.
I think it looks like Emily raised her hand first.
I actually don't have any questions per se, but just a comment on, I think that's just some great improvements. I was a cyclist a lot before I had children, and that roadway was not the best as a cyclist, but one that regularly used. So I like the additions on there, especially the shoulders and all that, and the sight with the improvement. So that's just the kudos. Thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions for Lisa? Okay.
Thanks for joining us, Lisa.
Of course. Yeah. And like I said, feel free to reach out if anybody has anything.
We will. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So next up is our very own Nancy Rattel and Sarah Bell to talk about the Community Assistance Fund and the Substance Abuse Prevention Mill Levy.
Thanks, Commissioner Zlotnick. Nancy, do you want to start, or you want me to?
I will defer to you, Sarah.
I'll go ahead and start. So good evening, everyone. I am Sarah Bell, a grants administrator with Missoula County Grants and Community Programs. And I'm just here tonight to give a brief announcement that our substance abuse prevention mill levy funding grant application is opening on April 4th. So just a little context of what that is. In 2008, Missoula County voters approved a substance abuse prevention mill levy fund in the amount of $368,920 that gets distributed to programs every year. And so it's a competitive application process for organizations that specialize in substance abuse prevention, primarily for youth. And so last year, the funds went to support All Nations Health Center, the Boys and Girls Club, Empower Montana, Mountain Home Montana, Western Montana Mental Health Center flagship and Project Success programs. And then the health department also gets a share of that funding to do prevention work in multiple different avenues throughout the county. So this is just a brief announcement to let you know that that funding opportunity is coming, and the application will be open on April 4th through May 17th. And I'll put a link in the chat so anyone who might know of someone who's interested or eligible to apply can learn more about it online. Pass it over to Nancy.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So it is with great pleasure that I piggyback with what Sarah was saying, is that on April 4th, a grant portal system will open, and it will be for the SAP mill levy, but also a community assistance fund. This is a fund that the county levies, and we've been doing it for decades and decades. And the purpose of the fund is for agencies to submit grant applications. They are competitive. They're reviewed and scored for providing basic needs services to community members: food, shelter, medical services, and emergency transportation. So in the current fiscal year, for example, I'll just give you a few. I won't do the whole list. We have 18 contracts that with social service agencies in Missoula and outside the community. One of them, for example, is up in Seeley Lake with the Seeley Lake Community Foundation. And that grant contract supports the medical shuttle to help transport people from Seeley Lake to Missoula for medical services and then back again. So that's just one example of the great benefit of this Community Assistance Fund. The process is it opens April 4th, and then Sarah will provide that link to both of those applications. It closes May 17th, after which then the applications are scored, they're read, reviewed, and based upon what potential funding we may have for that fund, then contracts are executed in September after the budget has passed. I don't know if I've missed anything, so I'm welcome to address any questions.
Yeah, please, anybody ask anything.
Could you put your contacts or something in the chat for us? So if we wanted to, let anybody know about these grants, that they could get in touch with you.
Yes, if I know how to do that, but yes, I'll figure it out.
Nancy, I can put yours in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And are these again community assistance grants is the name?
It's the Community
Did I get that
Assistance
right?
Fund. Typically we say CAF, C-A-F, but it's the Community Assistance Fund.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All right. So thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Nancy, for joining us. These are two really great programs. I'm really proud of the county for doing these things. We've been able to be part of tons of good work because of these funds, and you guys run great processes. I enjoy being part of the process with CAF, Nancy. I'm excited to do it.
Oh, thank you, Josh. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. So next up, we have John Fletcher and Jeff Badenoch to talk about local government review, which, if I understand right, comes around every 10 years, and 2024 will be here before we know it. So if you guys mind telling us all about it.
That's right, Commissioner. Thank you for allowing us to come before your meeting tonight. I'm going to read a brief statement and then go into some other discussions, but I wanted to get some of these points out of the way first. We were introduced, I'm Jeff Badnock, and John Fletcher is here tonight, and we're here on behalf of the Missoula League of Women Voters. And go ahead, make all the jokes you want, but the League is a wonderful organization, and they do allow men to join and participate. As Josh said, the Montana State Constitution and Montana State statutes require that every 10 years, the voters of every Montana county and city and town be given the opportunity to vote whether their form of local government will be studied by a commission of its citizens, which will then make recommendations about their findings to the people. And that vote will take place in June of 2024, so a little over a year from now. The drafters of our Montana Constitution encouraged greater involvement by citizens in their state and local governments. This review of local government is one of the ways they enshrine this value in our democratic process. Voting on this question itself is fairly straightforward. It provides voters with a simple yes or no option. There's no way to predict whether voters will want to undertake local government review or not, but the constitutional intent is for them to have this opportunity to decide. Since this choice comes only once every 10 years, it is among the rarest things voters are asked to consider. Who can remember how Missoulians voted on this question in decades past? Consequently, very few people are aware of or understand the implications of this vote. Consider how many people have become new voters since we last considered this question in 2014. Consider, too, how many people have moved to Missoula and Montana in the past 10 years. They all came from places where this vote does not ever occur. To be clear, the Missoula League of Women Voters does not have a position as to whether Missoula voters should cast their vote one way or another to study local government. Instead, the League views this as education and information sharing on a topic that has no obvious constituency, but for which the League itself is particularly suited. It is our hope that through education and conversation over the next year or so, Missoula voters will be able to make an informed decision when they vote on this question in 2024. Thank you for your attention. Now, with that statement out of the way, I don't know what to tell you because most people don't know anything about this. And rather than take up all of your meeting time with me as a talking head, I just want to talk about this very basic concept of citizens being able to reflect on whether or not their local government suits them or not. The state statutes provide a variety of forms of local government organization, and it may be that it's time for Missoula County to think about that and decide whether or not they want to study the way we do things now and compare what we do now with another way of doing things. As I said in my remarks, there are people that have come here from other states, and they may bring with them experience with a form of government that they think is more responsive or efficient or effective or useful to the people. I don't know that. The league doesn't know that. The league is not taking a position on that. But the only way to get to the point where alternative forms of government or structuring our government can take place is if the voters choose this option in June of next year to study the form of government. Now, if the voters choose to study the form of local government, it doesn't mean that anything is going to change. That will be up to first the study commission that the people elect, and they will spend over a year studying county government, how services are provided, the structure, responsiveness, and so on, all those kinds of issues, and then they will make a recommendation. Sometimes study commissions recommend don't change anything. They may just have a recommendation, we studied it. Guess what, folks? Missoula County government this is the best we're going to get. We should all be glad we have it. And they won't make a recommendation to change it. On the other hand, they may come up with some different way of doing things that they think might be better. And they will recommend that to the voters, but it will be up to the people, the voters, to decide whether to embrace those changes. And that's essentially all this is first, the first question in June is, do you want to study the government? Do you want to consider looking at how government services are provided? And then once that decision is made, then the statutes call for an election of study commissioners, which are registered voters. You have to be a registered voter. And the other thing is you can't be an elected official. So our commissioners can't, for example, run to be on the study commission. The county attorney can't run to be on the study commission. So those are kind of the bare boned restrictions. So I will like to turn it over if there's any questions now that I can answer. And then as soon as I'm done with my part, I will put my contact information in the chat. So if you want to follow up with me offline, I'll be happy to be available for you. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them now.
This should be a juicy topic, folks. I'm guessing there are people out there who didn't even know this existed. So there, I see Emily.
You may mention it, and I apologize if I missed it. So what's the history on this? So it's every 10 years, and I assume it's every county in Montana, or is it just specific to Missoula or something?
No, it's every county,
okay,
and every city and incorporated town. So if you live, for example, in Missoula, you'll vote on 2 questions next year, on the county, study the county, and study the city. So it'll be for both.
Okay. No, I've got another one, but that's okay. Let me think about it.
Okay. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, so my question is, if the voters approved doing the study for the county, could one of the things that come out of it be a recommendation for incorporation of a place like Seeley Lake? I mean, it's been looked at from the ground up, but would it get down to that granularity, or was it just look at the county level government itself and how that's structured?
I believe in this case, it would just look at the county level of organization. The other unincorporated communities like Seeley Lake or others, it's up to those people to decide whether they want to become incorporated as a town.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Now I remember my other question if someone didn't have it. What was the answer 10 years ago in Missoula? Did you mention that? And I apologize if I missed.
Well, the history in Missoula City is that in 1994, the people of Missoula voted to do a local government study, and that resulted in the report from the study commission to adopt a charter which gave the city of Missoula what's called, under the law, self-government powers. Missoula County has a history of not changing government as a result of a study commission. Maybe John can help me out with the history on this, but I don't believe that Missoula County voters have voted to study the local government for at least 30 years. So
That's correct, Jeff.
okay.
The very first time we did this in the 1970s, both the city and the county elected to have local government study commissions, and both of those study commissions said, let's at least hear from the voters on whether to consolidate both governments into a single government. And there were all sorts of reasons for that. There's only one incorporated community within Missoula County, and several other counties were contemplating the same thing. And so that's when, say, the city of Butte and the county of Silverbow said, no, let's just be one entity. And it was the same for Anaconda and Deer Lodge. So that's the sort of thing that has happened at the county level. Some things, Emily, do sort of spin off from this effort. For instance, what we're doing right now. In the 1990s, at the city level, we decided to have neighborhood councils. And very soon after that, the commissioners decided, hey, this is a good idea. And the commissioners said, well, let's have our community councils just like we're having tonight. And so those are examples of what comes out of this process of review. And I guess one other thing that comes to my mind is that members of the league, I would be glad to go up to the, this is a complicated issue to take back to the members in each of your areas. And we would be glad to appear in person, in Frenchtown or in up in the Swan, to have a similar discussion as we're having tonight.
That's a good point, John. That's exactly what I wanted to conclude the remarks with. We can go into greater detail of discussion with folks if they're interested in this, to learn more, to lead discussions about the implications of it. Again, this is a this is something that it's intended for the citizens, not elected officials. This is a bottom-up kind of participation. It's in the spirit of the most important things that democracy is all about, and that's the voice of the people.
So Jeff and John, I just wanted to throw something out and then ask you guys a question as well. So my understanding is that when this goes on the ballot, the cost associated with doing the study is also part of the ballot language. And that does have an impact, because when people vote for this, if they choose to vote for it, and I'm not saying I want to go against it or for it, they're also acknowledging the cost that the county would bear, and then is then transferred on to taxpayers. And so with that, Jeff, do you remember what the cost was for the city to do this in 2014?
Well, they didn't do it in 2014. They did it in 2004.
2004. Sorry about that.
And when we did it in 1994, it was $35,000, and that was to pay staff to do research, to do outreach, mailings, things like that. I'm guessing that today it would probably, with the ability to do work over the internet like this, I would just guess out loud that it's not going to exceed $50,000, and it's like an 18-month procedure to go through this. So
okay.
I'm spitballing that number though, Josh. I don't know what it would be, but I would guess $50,000 would cover it.
I'd heard some of our staff spitball double that, but I guess we better I don't know, we'll figure it out before.
Well, Josh, I'm a Scotsman, so I want it to be as cheap as possible.
For sure. And I don't want the voters to have to pay for things that aren't necessary, but that was the last estimate I heard.
Yeah.
Again, that was an estimate.
Right. Well, it depends on how it all get organized. And there's again,
Sure.
the reason the league wants to get such a big head start on this is that those are the kind of questions that people have and that we can talk about. If you think about this question, as I said, there's no constituency for this.
Mhm.
No, who talks about this? Nobody talks about this. I mean, if our local governments were really terrible, for example, I mean, if they were just rotten, people would say, we can't wait for this 10 years to be up so we get a chance to change everything and make it more to our liking. I haven't heard people complaining about the government. I really haven't. But by the same token, we don't know. There may be a different way to organize things that people want to consider, and going through a study and making comparisons of different opportunities. That's
Yeah.
the only way to do it. So-
And would you guys be up for describing just in a short way some of the different types of local government, just to give folks an idea of what a study commission would be considering as different options?
The state statutes give a variety of forms of government. We could have, for example, a county with a county executive that would be, parallel to like a governor. And they could also have with them an elected body that was comparable to the legislative branch. We could look at it and say, you know what, 3 commissioners really isn't enough. We should have 5. So maybe they would study it and say it would be better to increase the number of commissioners. So those are the kinds of things that the study commission could look at. I don't know if any of those alternative forms of government would prove in the study to be more efficient, more responsive, more effective. We don't know that. That would be up to the study commission to do that work on behalf of the people to see. And like I said, they may do this work and come back and say, you know what, we can't do better than the form we have now. It's working, everybody's happy, and we don't see how it could be improved. That's always a possibility. The commission could say, our recommendation is don't change.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
And just to be clear too, because people are always very quite concerned about property taxes, that our property tax system is designed by the state, and that would not be up for decision, and that's not part of what would get to be decided on.
That's correct. Now, in the another part of it that the study commission could look at is, I believe it would be open to the county to have a charter. So the county
Yeah.
would have a charter
Yes.
and give it, and then it would have self-government powers. When we did it in '96, what we did is we kept almost exactly the same form of government with a mayor and 12 council people and 6 wards. We kept everything exactly the same, but we codified it in a charter, which is like the city's constitution. The US has a constitution, the state has a constitution, the city has a charter. I believe it would be possible for the county to have a charter.
And
what would be the advantages of that? I don't know, but that might be something that the study commission could explore.
So Jeff, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think with a charter, in terms of what the city can do, or the city can do anything as long as the legislature hasn't said they can't, as opposed to the general form of powers, which is what we have at the county, where we can only do what the legislature says we can. If the legislature doesn't say we can do it, then we can't do it.
That's right, Josh. That's a very succinct explanation. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Thank you. John, do you have anything to add before we jump to the next thing?
Well, just one general statement. Again, this is really all about the form of our government, the way we shape it. It's not about issues of, well, I don't like this or that, or I want to change our spirit colors, or it's not for little things. But another example of what the city did in the 90s, a significant change it made, was it went for nonpartisan elections. And the county still has partisan elections. We've had the experience of some candidates saying, no, I'm going to run as an independent. So that's something as citizens of the county we've had experience with. So it can get that granular, but in general, it's about just the form that our government takes. And those were good examples that Jeff mentioned.
Yeah, I like to say that this is a question of governance. It's not a question of politics.
It's very good. You know, very good.
Politics is something that's different. This is governance. And so this is something that people of any party should be able to sit down and talk calmly about, because it's not whether you're for or against guns or it's not that kind of an issue. It's governance, not politics.
Great, thank you. It's a good way to end. Thanks a lot. Oh, Emily, are you raising your finger there?
Yeah, because I'm not sure this raise button's working. The new format's driving me crazy. No, I actually like that last statement you did, because it clarified some like it's not politics, it's governance. So whether that's 3 county commissioners to like, well, you know, there's 3 of them, but gosh, it's a lot of work, you know, or we're not, maybe representation, or 5 might be better. Would it be also like another example would be like, you know, we really need this certain different elective official in the county that isn't already there, or something like that.
That's also possible. As Josh said, the state pretty much describes what a county government should look like. If the county had a charter, then what you're describing, Emily, could take place. It might be that the charter would provide for, you know, maybe we want to elect that dog catcher. You know, like you always talk about, you couldn't win it. Maybe we need to have an elected dog catcher at the county. I don't know, but that would be something that would be could be incorporated in the charter if we had a charter. Okay, I'm going to sign up because I've taken way too much time, but I am going to put my contact information in the chat. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, you'll have a way to do that. So thank you for letting us come to your meeting tonight.
Thanks, Jeff, and thanks, John. It's super interesting and appreciate all the information.
Yeah.
Sure thing. Good night, all.
Good night.
So next up, we have Jenny Dixon, and this is classic county stuff. It's diversity. We get to deal with the diversity of the issues in county government. So we're going from potential to study our form of government to talk about cannabis regulations.
Hi. Hey, thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Okay. So my name's Jenny Dixon, and I work at Planning, Development, and Sustainability Department, which is under the Lands and Communities Department at the county, and I'm joined by Caroline. I am a planner for my expertise is in zoning. Caroline, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Caroline Bean, and I'm the Climate Action Program Manager with Missoula County, and I also work in the Planning, Development, and Sustainability Department with Jenny.
Thanks, Caroline. So it's been a very long time since I've come to the All Community Council. I'm happy to be here, and I'm just going to give you about 5 or 6 slides on a county-initiated proposal relative to cannabis dispensaries and cannabis cultivation. So I'm going to share my screen. I keep getting little messages. All right, okay. Okay. So like I said, I just have a few slides about the cannabis zoning proposal that's coming up in the next couple months at the county. And there we go. The timeline for this project is we have been doing public outreach this month and of course into next month, and as long as it takes to get through the hearings, which are scheduled for April and early May of this year. And then we're hoping for adoption by July of 2023 of this year. So what I want to do is just tell you what we're proposing and how you can provide feedback and take any initial thoughts or comments you might have this evening as well, by sharing ways to communicate this information to other people. We're hoping that if you are asked or if you share, if anyone is interested in this topic, that you could share this information. And at the end of this, I will tell you how to do that. The area of application of this zoning is the area in Missoula County as shown on this map that is in white. So the black part of this map is the city of Missoula. Of course, we don't have any kind of regulatory jurisdiction in the black city of Missoula area. The red is the area that was just zoned last summer. And that part of Missoula County has zoning regulations relative to cannabis. And they are actually identical to what we're proposing for the rest of the county, although not as comprehensive as they are in the zoned red area. We're just proposing two standards, and I am going to talk to you about those. The first one is a proposal to separate dispensaries by 500 feet from door to door. The state requires 500-foot separation from schools, churches, that type of thing. And the goal of separating actual dispensaries from each other is to create and maintain diversity of commercial areas. And if you've been in towns where you've seen one after the other, it can make for a less pleasant experience, pedestrian or streetscape type of experience. Montana, Missoula in particular, does tend to have a high number of dispensaries, so we want to make sure they're adequately separated. The second proposal is for energy efficiency standards to meet our climate action goals. The proposal is to use lights from it's called the Design Lights Consortium Qualified Product List for horticultural lighting. And that's the kind of the industry standard for agricultural production, indoor grow. And there's a list of over 1,000 types of lights that will meet our energy standards to then enable us to meet our goals. Another option that we present in the zoning, which is a lot less likely to be chosen, but still is possible, particularly if someone is served by Missoula Electric Co-op versus Northwestern Energy, because a greater portion of Missoula Electric Co-op energy is from clean energy. That second option is to use renewable electricity. And we, in the zoning code, and I didn't put it in the slide, and I'll go into detail if you'd like, but we have about 3 different ways that we've listed that you can use any combination to meet that requirement. But as I said, probably everybody or most everybody will use the first choice. And we've done a lot of research into is it feasible? And these standards or similar are used in various locations around the country. Of course, only 21 states in the US have legalized recreational marijuana. So we had to be, looking to how those states are managing their energy issues. I just threw on a slide here to just give you an idea of why that's important. And these 2 slides show similar but different things. The first one on the left is the cannabis cultivation using 7 times more electricity per square foot as an average commercial facility. And you can see there's also some residential in that list, and the relative use of energy per square foot is much higher for cannabis, the traditional cannabis grow lights. The slide or the graph on the right, again, just indicating kind of comparing energy intensities by industrial sector, because some people say, well, why are you, there are other industries that use high energy. Why are you looking at cannabis? cannabis cultivation is highly energy consumptive, even compared with other industries. So the goal, and as I mentioned, the goals of this zoning are to provide safe, diverse, and active streetscapes, meet our county clean energy and sustainability goals, and also provide ability for cannabis-related businesses to be successful. How to comment. This is my last slide, and then we can take questions. If you are familiar with Missoula County Voice, it's just missoulacountyvoice.com. And this is on the landing page, cannabis zoning for dispensaries and indoor cultivation in unzoned areas of the county. And just to refresh your memory, that's that area outside the zoned area of Missoula County that I showed on that map earlier in white. And I think I will stop presenting. And happy to take any questions you might have.
I had a question on where did the industry or government policy come up with 500 feet between schools and where did 500 feet come from?
Well, that's currently in our zoning regulations right now for the zoned portion of Missoula County. And that number is trying to align with separation requirements already in state law to keep a separation from schools and places of worship. And so using that same logic, we use the same number, 500 feet. There was a point where both the city and the county were looking at larger separation from dispensary to dispensary, 1,000 feet, I think we considered, but through a public review process, the 500 feet proved to be the acceptable distance. That doesn't mean it can't change. This is not a done deal, by the way. I just want to make sure you know that. These are, we are taking this to public hearing, but trying to seek input and making sure we are trying to learn about this topic, but we are by no means experts in cannabis. So please feel free to enlighten us if you know anything about it.
Thank you. I was just wondering where that 500 feet came from, what the background was. So thank you.
Sure, you bet.
Any other questions?
All right. Well, Josh, thanks for your time and for
Jenny.
Council as well. We really appreciate the opportunity. If you want, check out that website, contact us with questions, Jenny Dixon, Caroline Bean. We will be also presenting this to OLC on April 13, just because this does involve an agricultural type of activity, and they also, like you, have their fingers on the pulse of the county. And then the Planning Board public hearing, if you would like to attend, can be done virtually, is on April 18th. Commissioner scheduled for May 4th. Okay.
Great. Thanks a lot for coming by, Jenny. Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
So Violet, do you want to go through our kind of role and see if anybody has any questions or updates or anything they'd like to share or ask?
Absolutely, will do. I will just go by council here. I think we have 4 councils representing on the call last time I checked. We will start with Tom Tucker with West Valley Community Council. Tom, any questions or updates?
Well, I have a question for Josh.
Yeah.
Here a month or so ago, he came out with this Victor Recycling business going to be next to the Missoula Airport. Has there been any more talk about that?
And I wish I had
the proposed facility site.
So you're talking about the one that was going to, they're to recycle materials, and they're also going to be recycling some car parts?
I believe that's what this printout is about.
Yeah. Again, nothing new. I know that they were interested in this. I wish I had an update for you, sir, but I don't. But I could absolutely look into that and get you some information.
Well, it's okay if you haven't. Maybe they've dropped their idea on that, because that's out there on that big field there that it was proposed last year that they were going to put a whole bunch of houses in that, but it kind of fell through. So and then I have one more question for the commissioners. I had somebody at our last community meeting, they asked if they were going to put where they're at on Highway 93 bypass that was going to go by below the airport there all the way over to catch 93 and bypass Missoula. Any more information on that?
I haven't heard any talk of that.
Pardon?
I haven't heard any talk of that.
Oh, because they talked about that about 2 years ago or 3, about getting a bypass out there, go around Missoula, get off of Reserve Street.
Like I said, I haven't heard any talk of that, at least since I've been on the BCC.
Okay. And Shane Stack?
Is Shane
thank
still
you for blading our roads today. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for those questions, Tom. We'll go to our next council. I think we have 2 members from Bonner Milltown. We have Rick Hall and Emily Herndon.
You want to start, Rick? I've done enough talking tonight. Unmute.
Yeah, I can't hear you, Rick. Oh, there we go. Oh, nope. I still can't hear you, darn it.
Right now, how's that?
There we go.
There we go. Too many microphones on this thing. Not much new from us. We lost Bert Caldwell, and who resigned after a long term of service. So we have gone out and recruited 2 people to replace him. That's how important Bert was to us. But we're very happy. We think we've got 2 applicants that will give us a full board, not with an alternate. So that's about, we're moving to in-person next month. We're going to see how that goes at the Bonner School. We've checked out the facilities there and they're adequate. So there may be some technical difficulties, but we're going to be sticking with our Zoom meetings and also meeting in person. So it's going to be a hybrid meeting. That's our goal. And did I miss anything?
We're working with Lily Sussman on that West Riverside neighborhood engagement, looking at potentially putting that as including that within the TED district that is going into place with the commercial subdivision. So I think the email that I sent out with the listserv got at least 1 response, because she wanted to make sure they got that information, that Lily had gotten it. So it looks like they may have some neighborhood people that want to talk about it. So
yeah, Emily, I'm really glad that that's happening. I'm personally excited about the potential for some of that neighborhood to be part of the TED district if it works out, just because some of the benefits could really extend to the neighbors in terms of sanitation and help with the value of people's houses, and be a really good thing if we can make it work.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great thing to have that community engaged. And I think with the commercial subdivision that is in that area, that the engagement is high right now. So, and in their forefront of their mind might actually get people to have those in that community to have that engagement, because I think there could be some definite benefits. But if they don't want to, then at least it's their choice as a neighborhood. So
yeah, exactly. Well said.
And I think that's it.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Rick. We will go to, let's go to Tom Browder in Sealy Lake.
Okay, let me get myself on the screen. So yeah, I mean, we've been doing obviously hybrid meetings since last fall, and in March, Jennifer Thompson and Will Rice from University of Montana did a great presentation for us on outdoor recreation trends, of which we have a lot up here. And it was good to get that data, be helpful. In April, we're putting together a suicide prevention, maybe we'll call it a symposium. Again, it's a problem in rural Montana. So we think, springtime it's good to address that problem. Both, will involve the school principals and Missoula Aging Services. So we really cover the whole demographic spectrum. So that's good. One question I have, Josh, maybe you can answer it.
Yeah.
Shane's still on. There's the RV park that was presented to us pre-pandemic, then kind of went into hiatus, has been revived. And someone asked me, is there a place on the county website where we can look at the progress or the status of a subdivision application? I couldn't find one, and I knew this meeting was coming up, so I thought I'd ask the experts.
So my understanding is that there is something like this that you can access through Tyler Granat's world at the Clerk and Recorder's office.
Okay.
Hopefully I have this correct, that you can see where a subdivision is in process. I don't believe you can tell if it's active or inactive. So it could possibly be in one spot and it's just there because the owners or developers may have decided to take a pause for all kinds of very valid business reasons.
But it would be, I should look around the Clerk and Recorder, not building department, right?
Yes. Yep. That's my suggestion, would to reach out to Tyler's office. Oh, and there, Emmy just put the link up in the chat. Way to go, Emmy. It's called
Great. I love it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's a great name.
Thanks. That's all I have.
And thank you, Emmy.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks, Emmy, for getting that link to everybody. I believe the last council we have representing is East Missoula, and we have Lisa Thomas with us.
Yeah, hello. I was writing down that website. So I guess we're getting ready for our April meeting, which is going to be focused on the Summers subdivision here in East Missoula, which is now being called the Aspire development. So we will be getting an update from the engineers. I think it's 406 Engineering is going to come into a community meeting and receiving some community feedback from the East Missoula community, the Canyon River community, and the Water's Edge subdivision there, which has direct access to that subdivision when it goes through. So that's what we are going to be getting ready for. We're still working on a place where we can hold our meeting in a large enough venue for all of our community and be able to have a hybrid format of meeting, as well as with MCAT and Zoom. So we're still working on that. We've been going back and forth between potentially Mount Jumbo and also the fire hall and what place might be appropriate. We're working with the engineer, Brian, can't remember his last name. So that's kind of what's going on here, and getting ready for our big Missoula cleanup day on Earth Day.
All right.
Over something near Burnage Lumber here, right on Highway 200. So that's what's going on here.
Thanks, Lisa. Is there anybody that I missed out there? I don't think so. There was one other really quick thing I wanted to just throw in. I know Nick Holloway, who is in Missoula County's Office of Emergency Management, reached out to council chairs and different contacts They're hoping to attend some community council meetings to talk about their pre-disaster mitigation plan. They're doing public outreach for that. So if you haven't heard anything about that, maybe follow up with your council chairs. They're hoping to present at each community council's upcoming meeting. So I just wanted to.
So Violet, it's I have a question about that I got that email and I got the impression Nick wants to do it all in April. But like, I think Bonner and ourselves have identical schedules. So does he have like can he send us a canned presentation? Like what's up with that? Any suggestions?
That's a really good question, Tom. And I did see that you said to him that your meetings are at the same time. I think he's out this week at a conference, or possibly for a spring break. So I think next week he should be able to get back to you, and hopefully he could either schedule something in May or get you some information to give out at your April meeting. So I'm sure he'll be back on that next week.
Great, thanks.
I think we went through everybody, Josh.
Thanks a ton, Violet. It's nice to see you again. And thanks for everybody for coming out tonight. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Night.